Hey everyone, this is Sandip and welcome to Modern React course. And in this video, we are going to understand JSX, React and ReactDOM. So this video is actually part of the series where, I'm making a series on modern React tutorials. So I have already posted 3 videos in this series. I'm going to provide you the link for this playlist in the description. So please go ahead and check out all other videos as well. But you can watch this video individually, as it covers one concept and it covers it well. So in this video, we are going to compare HTML, JavaScript and React through a greater example. So this will give you a good foundation of React. And later we will deep dive into more topics. So I highly recommend you watch this video till end to understand the concept well. So let's jump directly into it. So from this video and in the upcoming videos, I'm going to use CodePen for coding all the small React applications. I know I did a video on React dev environment in previous video, but we will keep it for some time. We are going to use it in later, like when we will create some of the complex application in React. So just to keep things simple, we are going to set up environment directly into the browser. So we are going to use CodePen. So you just need to go to codepen.io and you can log into CodePen using your GitHub ID. So if you have a GitHub ID, you can just use that and log in from here. So using codepen.io, we are going to code everything in the browser. All the small React applications into the browser directly, just to keep things simple, creating React dev environment requires you to download Node and all other stuff. So we don't need to do that. And I'm going to provide you the link to some of the pens also, which we are going to create moving forward. And you can directly refer those pens and that will be easy to follow along. Cool. So as we are going to compare HTML, JavaScript and React together in this video, I'm going to start with HTML first. And let's say you want to greet someone in HTML. And we know like HTML is a de facto language for creating user interfaces. All of the web pages, all of the websites or online, all of them are created using HTML. So let's get started. I'm going to create a new pen. So I'm going to click on this pen option and I'm going to click on this pen. So I'm going to create a new pen. So just wait for a moment and you see, this is a new pen opened in front of us and we got 3 different tabs here, or 3 different sections, I would say: HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So we are starting with HTML. So first of all, let me name my pen as greeter HTML. And now suppose you want to say hello to someone in HTML. I'm going to use a simple h1 tag and I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Okay, this looks good. So h1, and let's start with very simple things. Let's say hello to the world. It's really easy, right? And you see the output directly here. So I have used a simple HTML tag h1 and inside that I have written hello world. Pretty easy, right? Writing hello world is really simple in HTML. So you see the output. We got hello world as output here. But what if I want to say hello to someone else? Here I'm saying hello to world. What if I want to say hello to Sandip? I need to go and change the word, that particular text, to Sandip. So whenever I need to say hello to someone else, this is how I need to do the changes. Like I'm saying hello to Sandip, maybe I need to say hello to John. So I need to go and update my HTML. Now this is a problem with HTML. I mean, HTML is a static language. So you need to do the changes directly into the HTML file, and then we need to deploy this HTML file on the server to see the changes. So we need some magic, right? We need some magic, and that magic has been provided by one of the popular language called JavaScript. So let's try to create this greeter example in JavaScript. So I'm going to save this pen and let's move on and create a greeter in JavaScript. So I'm going to open a new tab here. I'm going to visit codepen.io, and again I'm going to create a new pen. And we got a HTML, CSS, JavaScript options here. And this time I'm going to use JavaScript. So I'm going to write some JavaScript. So let me make some space here. And I'm going to create a very simple example. I'm not going to go into the details or deeper into JavaScript. I'm going to just use a document dot body dot inner HTML. And I'm just going to append a simple string like how we did for the HTML part. So I'm going to append the HTML with h1 element and hello world. You see that? We got the output as hello world. So I mean, there are different ways of, creating hello world in JavaScript. This is one of the way I thought of, would be simple document. There's a document. So this is a document and I am accessing the body element and I'm referring to inner HTML property of body, and I'm just assigning a h1 element with text of hello world. So this is a string, actually this is HTML string which I have assigned here. But the beautiful thing about JavaScript, JavaScript is a dynamic language. Like HTML is a static language where I need to go and change the text here. I mean, this is a name, and if I need to do the changes to the name, I need to go and do the changes here. But in case of JavaScript, I can create a variable. So say suppose I can create a variable like name, and I'm going to use my name only, Sandip, semicolon. So I can append this name here. Okay, so I just need to do some modifications. I'm going to press some enter here just to make it readable. And instead of saying hello to world, I'm going to remove this part and I'm going to add one more string. So I'm basically using a string concatenation here, and I'll use name plus then the other string. So now if I close this statement, see that I'm getting hello Sandip. I did create let name variable here and assign the name value, but we can take this value from the server side also, right? So in that case, if this value is coming from server side, this name value, I don't need to go and do the changes here. So we don't need to do any static changes. The things which are happening here are dynamic. So this is beauty of JavaScript. This beautiful thing is done by JavaScript. That's why, JavaScript is a really popular language of the browser. And we have used the power of HTML and JavaScript, I would say. I mean, HTML is very good in terms of static, and JavaScript is very good in terms of dynamic themes. So we used the power of HTML and JavaScript together to create the JavaScript example. So I'm going to name my pen. So I'm going to call it greeter JavaScript, and I'm going to save it. Now the most important part, I mean, how can we do it in React and why React is special? So creating the greeter example in React, I would say, is a two-step process. So again, I'm going to create a new pen. So I'm going to go to codepen.io, and for React, we need to do some special things. I mean, we need to configure React before we write code. So I'm going to create a new pen only. But you need to do some settings here. So just go to settings tab and you need to go to JS and you need to select the JavaScript preprocessor. I'll tell you why this is needed. So for now, just go and select Babel. So this is a preprocessor we are going to use because we are going to write JavaScript, but that JavaScript is actually different JavaScript, which is going to get converted into the browser's JavaScript. I mean the language which browser understands. So this is the first setting. You just need to go to JS and select JavaScript preprocessor as Babel. Next, we need to have React. Okay, so we need to add React library into our project. So I'm going to search for the React first. So I'm going to search for React and I got the version 16.13.1. So I'm going to use this one. So you see React has been added. I need one more library, which is ReactDOM. So we need ReactDOM also. So I'm using this version of ReactDOM. Maybe it is a different version for you. Maybe you can go with the latest version. So I'm going to select ReactDOM. Okay, so I did two different things here. So I went to the settings. Okay, I went to the JavaScript section and I have added Babel as a preprocessor. It's a JavaScript preprocessor. And I have added React library and React DOM library. These are the two things we will need. So I'm going to save and close. So now you see here JavaScript Babel. So now this pen is actually a React pen, I would say. So whatever we are going to write in the JavaScript is like React. So we are ready. So as I told you, creating hello or creating greeter application, greeter React, I would say. So greeting someone in React is a two-step process. First of all, we need to create an element, and second step would be we need to render that particular element. So creating element will be similar to Java. So creating element will be similar to what we did in HTML, but this is JavaScript. Okay, so whatever I'm going to write right now is a JavaScript. So I'm going to create a variable, or I would start with a constant actually. So I'm going to create a constant and I'm going to call it element. Okay, so this is just a normal JavaScript constant. And now what I'm going to write is special. And don't worry if you don't understand it right now, we are going to have a deeper dive into it. So whatever I'm going to write down now is called, so I'm going to write in comments here. So whatever I'm writing right now is called JSX. Okay, I'll tell you what is JSX. So first of all, let me write. So this looks similar to HTML. So whatever I did in HTML, in this greeter example, I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to assign that particular h1. So you see I'm writing like how I did in HTML. So I'm writing HTML here, but this is not HTML. And I'm going to say hello world. Okay. So whatever you see here, this h1 and hello world is not HTML, it's not JavaScript, it's actually JSX. So JSX, you can think of a new language created by React team. So JSX is nothing but, I'll give you a brief introduction about it. JSX is just an extension to JavaScript. So what we are writing here is actually JavaScript, but we call it JSX. So this string, this is JSX. And be with me, I'm going to tell you more about like why it is JavaScript and how JSX gets converted into JavaScript. So we are already done with the first step. I have created an element and I just created h1 element here. Next step would be, to render that particular element into the DOM. I mean here. So to render this particular element, we need to use React DOM. So we are going to use React DOM. This is object in JavaScript, I would say. And we are going to use the render method of this React DOM object. And this takes two different arguments. The first one will be what I want to render. So I want to render the element. So as I have created this element, right? So this element, I want to render, and where to render is a second argument. So where I want to render, so I need to create some parent element. So I'm going to target document.getElement, getElement by ID, and I'm going to target the root element. Okay, I didn't create the root element yet. I'm going to create it, and I'm using ReactDOM.render method. What I want to render my element and where I want to render. So this is a parent element where I want to render this element, document.getElement by ID root. So obviously in the document, I need to create this root element. I haven't created it yet. So I'm going to go to my HTML section and I'm going to create a div, just a normal div element, and I'm going to give it an ID of root. See that? We got the output of hello world. So I'm going to save it. So in React, I mean, if you compare with HTML would be really simple. And if you compare with JavaScript also, JavaScript is also simple, I would say. But in React, we did something special. I mean, we have created the element first, and then we have used one more object called ReactDOM, and using its render method, I'm rendering the element into the div here. And we have some advantages of having this ReactDOM, which we are going to discuss in more details in upcoming videos. But we do definitely have this advantage of having a ReactDOM. So if we do the comparison, I mean, in case of HTML, what happened, we have created this h1 element and it has been directly rendered into the DOM here. In case of JavaScript also, the same thing happened. I've created HTML string and that has been directly rendered into the DOM. Okay. But in case of React, we are using something called ReactDOM. So we are not directly rendering into the DOM here. We are using ReactDOM and we are telling ReactDOM, can you take this element and render into the DOM? So something like this happening here. So I'm going to write a comment here. So we have an element, I would say that is an HTML element, and we are giving it to ReactDOM, and then ReactDOM is rendering it into the DOM. So we have someone in between. So we are not directly going into the DOM. Instead, we are giving it to ReactDOM. So you're thinking, I mean, we can take a lot of advantages because, when we render directly into the DOM, we don't have the control. So ReactDOM, before rendering into the DOM, ReactDOM is taking all of that control. So before rendering into the DOM, we can do whatever we want to do with this element. That is a big plus we are getting here. Just in a brief, I'm trying to tell you here, but we can jump into ReactDOM in more detail. Maybe I'll create a specific video for that. So are you getting the idea? I mean, why this ReactDOM is there? Okay. So as I told you, this JSX is actually a JavaScript and it's an extension to JavaScript language. And I want to give you that idea also. I mean, I'm going to take this h1, I'm going to take this h1 tag, and you just need to go to Babel IO probably, or Babel transpiler. You need to type in your Google and we'll go to Babel, and I'm going to click on this try it out button, and you see here like there are some options selected, right? So we have React enabled, we have stage 2 enabled. So you just need to keep the React enabled, and I'm going to replace this with whatever element I have typed there. You see that on the right hand side? So this is JSX and it is actually getting transpiled. So this is JSX, and this JSX behind the scene is actually getting compiled, or I would say transpiled into JavaScript. So this is JavaScript, right? So React is an object, dot create element is a method, and we are passing some argument to that particular method. So this is JavaScript. So I can use this instead of this here. So I would replace, so I'm going to replace this with that one. and you see the output is same. So you're getting the idea. I mean, instead of writing all of this create element statement, I can make it more simpler and more readable by using JSX. So if I undo, I mean, this looks simple, this looks clean. And if you look at this one, this is a bit cumbersome, and this is a really simple example. I mean, we are just writing hello world. But when we are going to have multiple element, hierarchical element, parent-child hierarchy, I'm writing all of this react.create element call would be really, really cumbersome, and we are here to write good code. We are not here to write a lot of code. I mean, we don't get paid for keystrokes, right? We get paid for smart development. So this is beauty of JSX. That's why the smart developers at React, they have created this new language called JSX, and it's an extension to JavaScript. You can think of it's a combination of HTML and JavaScript. It's combining the power of HTML and JavaScript. So visually, it looks like HTML, but it has the power of JavaScript also. And I would like to show that with a simple example. Okay, so let's see how we can combine the power of HTML and JavaScript together in JSX. So I'm going to create one more variable here, say const name. Okay, and I'm going to assign my name here. And now I'm going to use this name instead of world. So say suppose now I want to use any JavaScript property. Say suppose I want to write any JavaScript code inside JSX. That's really simple. I just need to delete this one and I need to write curly brackets. And whatever goes inside these curly brackets is JavaScript. So just look at the output here. So I'm going to write name here. And there you go. I got Sandip. Hello Sandip. So I'm greeting to Sandip now. And say suppose I want to greet to someone else. Say suppose John. I can change it to John. And now we are greeting to John. You're understanding the power of JSX. So it's like a combination of HTML and JavaScript. But actually it is JavaScript because browser doesn't understand JSX. That's why, we have this Babel transpiler and they have written some code, So when we run this program this JSX is actually getting converted into JavaScript behind the scene. And we don't need to worry about it. That has been taken care by Babel compiler or a transpiler, I would say. So let's do a quick comparison here. I mean, we have created hello, our greeter HTML example. So we have just created a simple H1 element, and we know like HTML is a static language. So we are directly rendering this H1 element into the DOM. Next, we moved and we have used magic of JavaScript. So in our greeter JavaScript example, you see like I have created a name variable and I have rendered it using HTML string. So we have used string concatenation here. So I have combined hello with name and we have rendered directly into the DOM. So in case of HTML also, we did direct render to the DOM. And in case of JavaScript also, we did direct render to the DOM. But something special happened in React, right? So we learned like there is something called JSX. So whenever we want to create a UI, whenever we want to create any user interface element, whenever we want to write any HTML, we are going to write something special called JSX. It's an extension to JavaScript. So I have created an element and this is a special syntax, the JSX syntax, which looks like HTML, but it comes with the power of JavaScript also. You see here. So I've created an element, then I have used ReactDOM. This is one of the powerful React library, I would say. And we have used a render method and we have rendered the element into the root div element. So I have created that div in the HTML here and we can see the output here. So instead of directly rendering to the DOM, in case of React, we have used ReactDOM. So we got some control before rendering into the DOM, and this power of ReactDOM, we are going to understand in upcoming videos. So I think this is it, guys. I mean, this is what I have, a comparison of HTML, JavaScript and React together. I think this will give you a good idea like why we have created React, and creating such kind of simple greeter example in React would be cumbersome. I mean, that would be really easy in JavaScript or HTML. I understand that. But as we progress, as we will create more complex application, you will really understand the power of React. So I highly recommend, you go and watch my other React videos here. I'm going to give this link in the description box. And I also have one more playlist, I would say, that is for programming tips. So where I upload, programming tips related videos. So I highly recommend you go and watch these videos also. And in the next video, we will jump deeper into JSX, and we are going to practice more JSX in the next video. And if you like this video, please like and do subscribe to my channel, and give me some comments like what kind of videos you guys like me to create. That will help me, give some direction like what videos you guys are interested in. So this is it for this video, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye.